According to the Inspectorate of Government, Uganda loses an estimated 9.14 trillion shillings annually to corruption. Despite constitutional guarantees and existing anti-corruption measures, many reported cases never result in convictions. A major obstacle is the lack of a robust system to safeguard whistleblowers and witnesses. Those who dare to speak out against corruption or misuse of power often face intimidation, reprisal, social isolation, and even violence.
It's a challenge being a person within the community. Sometimes when we really follow up some projects on some contractors, we really get challenges where we're sometimes isolated in the community. People do not want us to be with them.
And sometimes some of us, when we apply for a job here like in Malatuya, when they see that your community matter, they cannot allow you.
The leaders tend to have protection from the authorities, which means that even when they are reported, nothing's done, and this further discourages whistleblowers and potential witnesses.
These people here have godfathers. You find people have connections in Kampala. And that's why, at times when it comes to State House, tackling them, or IGG, for them they even tell you openly that we are connected. You can't do much.
Civil society organizations argue that citizens should be able to expose corruption without fear of reprisal.
When you look at most of the corruption scandals that come out, somebody has whistleblown. So corruption exposure mostly depends on whistleblowers. So in the same way, conviction in corruption cases in courts depends on witnesses. And if you don't have a mechanism for protecting these witnesses, then you can't be effective at fighting corruption.
A whistleblowers law exists. However, Uganda's Whistleblowers Protection Act of 2009 only covers those who initially reported corruption. It does not protect witnesses who later testify in court, leaving them vulnerable to retaliation.
One of the reasons that citizens will bring out for their non-involvement in corruption cases is that, how will you protect me? You will get your information, the agency may get a conviction, but me, how am I protected? That fear is there.
We are operating without witness protection legislation, which is a very big gap because a law in place would effectively protect witnesses through its provisions. Because of this, witnesses become liable to intimidation, retaliation, and influence.
The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has improvised temporary measures to compensate for lack of a formal witness protection framework.
So a threat assessment is done, and when we find that a witness needs to be protected, then we adopt the necessary measures for protection of that witness. We can ensure that they have police escorts, depending, of course, on the level of threat. We can have them relocated. We can have them have medical assistance, psychosocial support. We can also apply to the courts for procedural measures like reduction of statements, testimonies via audiovisual link, testimonies without the press, testimonies in the absence of the public, camouflage, voice distortion, appearance distortion, and so many other measures.
However, as the DPP's spokesperson acknowledges, there is only so much they can do given the resource constraints. About half of corruption cases collapse before prosecution, and convictions remain low.
Even when you look at the police report, I think for the last financial year, they had cases that were worth 1 trillion. These are cases that were received. And when you look at cases that actually investigated to the conclusion, they are less than 50%. Then the ones that go to court, they are around like 20%. So that reduction, that huge gap between cases being reported to different institutions and what actually goes to court, leave alone even the conviction rate, it shows that there is a very, very big problem as to why people are not actually coming up to give evidence.
International conventions require Uganda to protect witnesses.
There's a draft witness protection bill, 2015. So we are in the process, together with other institutions, relevant institutions, of having this legislation come into place.
We need to see other agencies also coming on board, and we continue with this kind of efforts and advocacy to have that, to have the bill coming into effect, but also to have an agency that is primarily tasked with that. And that is quite important, because if you have a responsibility that is scattered, you know, work for everyone is work for no one. You get it? But if you have an agency that you can hold accountable, I think that will also be good, because at least you can hold them and ask them what is going on.
Without implementing a witness protection law and establishing a legal framework to unify witness protection activities and procedures, justice will remain inaccessible for many.
We cannot win, especially in corruption cases, without witnesses. And if these are people who are coming out and volunteering to give information, then we must put in place a mechanism to ensure that they are safe before, during, and after they have given evidence in these cases.
Until a comprehensive witness protection framework is established, corruption cases will continue to collapse, and the billions lost each year will remain a silent tax on ordinary Ugandans.